Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning to talk about SASE in one of our Westcon-Comstor security talks. This is the first of its kind, and the whole point of these sessions is for us to try and talk to our partners about security topics that are common to all vendors and to all resellers across our industry. Joining me today is I have Reza, one of our engineers as well here.
Hi.
Yep. And so let's get started. Let's check on the agenda for this first session. We're going to be talking about SASE. So first, we're going to be just seeing what is SASE, what it's all about, why is it relevant for the industry, and we're going to give you our thoughts about how it tackles and how New Zealand is actually looking at it, so how the industry is approaching it. How can Westcon-Comstor solutions help you address this topic to your customers, right? And at the end of the session, we're going to have a few questions and answers that we're going to be answering. So these are us, Andre here, Reza there, and among the two of us, we take care of the security portfolio here at Westcon-Comstor New Zealand.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Cool. So let's get started with what is SASE?
So I guess SASE is, we've got a good definition there, but it's a bit wordy. But how we see it, it is the natural progression of how the market and how the environment for most of your customers and the partners itself is progressing to. And we've seen stuff like the impact of the lockdowns that we've had in the past year kind of accelerate this move and this migration towards where something like a SASE security architecture would become more pertinent. But really, it's a aggregation of all of the trends that we're seeing right now towards a decentralization of information away from where you traditionally wall off your organization's information. So behind where it would be behind a data center or behind a perimeter, now we've seen an uptake in a decentralization process where it's going out either to the cloud or to a mobile environment or to an SD-WAN kind of environment where the majority of your branches are no longer really interacting to the same level with their headquarters or their core data center anymore, and more the nodes will be interacting with each other. So you've got to find a way to really move that model of how you would secure your core environment out to this now disseminated environment.
Yep.
And that's really what it is, yeah.
So Reza's talking about how we're seeing this decentralization model, deperimeterization even, exactly. And one of the main topics that we're seeing is solutions or our solutions that are addressing the security of many of issues that are arising with this decentralization evolution of the WAN, right? So solutions like that would be secure web gateways, CASB solutions, firewalls in the cloud or firewalls as a service, and even zero trust networking. So all these security solutions to address SaaS solutions or SaaS services are actually converging, and this is exactly what Reza was saying, right? All these security-based solutions for the cloud are actually converging with the rapid adoption and the evolution of the WAN services on branches and headquarters, and even including the rapid adoption of remote workers nowadays with the entire pandemic going on. So what Gartner has done, and what we're showing here is an image by Gartner. This is what Gartner determined as being SASE, Secure Access Service Edge, the convergence of your network as a service products with your network security as a service products. So all your intelligence for the WAN to optimize your traffic for remote and branch offices, including all your security services to secure your remote users and your cloud applications as well. They are converging into this one offering called SASE. This is what effectively SASE is.
And it's really, what we do say is that aggregation of all these services, it's important to remember that it's not a single service in and of itself.
Yeah.
It is more, it looks to secure all those different ways that your customers or yourselves might have in your environment. So different environments will be different, and you might have certain, for example, an environment that has a huge cloud uptake, but not necessarily a mobile uptake, or it might have a large mobile uptake, but not an SD-WAN uptake. So, or it could have a combination of all three technologies. So depending on, you should really fit your SASE model to depending on what your end customer has or what you yourself find most appropriate.
That is correct. Ultimately, that's a good drawing of it. So at the center here, you have your users, your devices, even your IoT devices, yes. And what Gartner is proposing and what this whole SASE architecture is about creating security policies based on context, on what devices, what users, and even IoT devices are trying to connect to what services. So depending on what services a user is trying to access from their mobile device, what is the level of access that they should have? What is the level of file access that they should have? What is the level of application access that they should have as well? So it all depends, even including location and time of when they're trying to access. So there are many context information that Gartner is saying that is important for us to look at before we allow access to a given application sitting in the cloud.
Exactly. So yeah, the key there is, instead of really looking at it from do we allow or disallow from this person to that person or from this device to that device, it's more looking at the behavior and the context of it, like you said, the risk profile associated with it, the timing of it. Is it aberrant compared to the normal behavior we've seen from those users, from those applications to access certain, how sensitive is the information that's trying to be accessed, what is the risk associated with it, what is the reputational risk associated with it, all this kind of decision making.
Yeah. Here's an example of what that would look like in that sort of architecture. So in the green arrow over here, you have Jorge accessing an application from their branch office. So from your branch office, they're trying to access the network using geo-restrictions. So geo-restrictions policies are being applied to Jorge because he's accessing it from a branch location, for example. At that same time, we realize that we need to enforce security policies for his traffics. And what security policies do we need to apply to him at that given condition? Well, DLP, WAF, Zero Trust, so on and so forth. At the end of all these policies, what comes out is the end results, right? What sort of applications can we allow them to access? In this example, given all the context for Jorge, he can only access the applications and APIs on premises, for example. But if we were to look at an IoT device, the turbine over here, sitting with the orange-looking arrow, they would have different conditions, different network conditions as well, and different security policies that were being applied to it. At the end of the day, the turbine will then be granted access to AWS because that's what it needs, and that's what the security policies allow it to have, and even edge computing capabilities. So this is a general example of how that would look like in an environment. And you can see that there's a third example for a mobile device. So a user trying to connect to Salesforce and internet sites from a mobile device. So what should we be looking at? Perhaps quality of service, because they're trying to access a business-centric application, or a business-relevant application like Salesforce. So we should be applying quality of service to that traffic. Perhaps we should be applying SaaS acceleration as well to make sure that they have a good experience with Salesforce. So we're prioritizing their traffic. So here comes the network intelligence of the traffic coming in. And then we're just applying threat and prevention capabilities, DNS filtering, secure web gateway, so filtering their traffic before they access all these internet sites and Salesforce applications. So this is an example of how that would look like in an actual use case. And this is all theoretical, of course. When it comes to practicality, we have to look at what solutions we have, what is the architecture that your customer have. We'll get into that at the end of the session now. So here are the use cases for what is proposed by Gartner. Now let's look at why SASE, why Secure Access Services Edge. Much like what Reza was presenting to us, it's a combination of factors, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like we were trying to get before, a lot of these industry-defined terms, I guess, they kind of happen after the fact in somewhat. So it's not really something that's, while it is something that's being forecast in terms of a trend that's going to happen, it's really looking at also a backwards trend and looking at the progression of how we see information, where we see the uptake of end customers and partners really being interested in managing to secure going forward. So it's really looking into the uptake in interest in what's happened, and that is driven by obviously what just the casual, I don't want to say casual, but yeah, the day-to-day observations of people in this field who've kind of noticed this this movement away from where you would traditionally have it. And you will all have probably felt the same way, that very little of your information compared to 10 years ago, or that you'd need to come into your office or plug into your LAN or set up a VPN tunnel and access very specific resources in your enterprise organization. Most of it just with the massive pickup in Google Docs or Azure and Office 365, and the demands of and the increasing computing capability of mobile devices has really shifted that out to to the cloud. And so this is what kind of makes this this new way of securing with SASE such a pertinent discussion, is that three main drivers that we have identified: the adoption of remote access, mobile devices, the distribution of applications out to the cloud and away from your traditional servers, which are in a physical environment that might belong to your organization, and just a branch connectivity kind of environment where things are being decentralized away from a hub and spokes kind of topology into just a mesh kind of
a mesh topology with DII,
exactly,
direct internet access from all your branches.
Exactly, split tunneling and
So these are the driving factors for digital transformation, and we're seeing more and more customers adopting these three topics over here. This is one of the big reasons. Alongside that, SASE solutions come to address that the current solutions are complex and somewhat inefficient to address all these issues, right? So the issues of network connectivity alongside access to cloud applications.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you've made there, is that when you just might have seen that last slide and seen those three drivers of SASE, you would say, well, we've already got a way to secure all these environments. We have mobile management, and we have mobile access security technologies providers. We have providers of SD-WAN security and a secure overlay on top of our SD-WAN, and of course we have a way to secure our cloud fostering and our even native cloud fostering security tools that exist. But this is really a way of just making sure that whatever you have is unified, and those working parts and those moving parts are all working together in the best way that they can.
And that's a challenge, orchestrating all these different solutions effectively, right? Because as we know, security is not just plug in a security control in one of your network access, or just trying to address one of the vectors, but rather it's applying a policy consistently all across your environment. And this is where the complexity comes into current environments. We have lots of customers using multiple solutions, and at times we have administrators managing only part of these solutions. It boils down to some policies being applied to some products at times, and some policies not being applied correctly in other products and in other vectors. So how to make sure that we secure this cloud access consistently without complexity, right?
And that complexity ultimately leads to one of the points we've got there is fatigue. Just we know your SEC team, your SOC teams are all going to be fatigued, and they probably even if not physically, just the mental diligence they can do to different alerts from different environments. They need to be trained in all these different technologies to maintain these technologies up to the standard that's required. It's quite a challenging request to have of them.
That's right. Yeah, puts a lot of stress on the team as well. And so what we're going to talk about now is how to approach SASE then, because in theory, this is all good and great, but now come to our reality. how can we approach that and apply that to our customers' environments? Looking from a customer perspective, then we can start looking at small things, right? Protecting remote users in offices, secure connectivity to applications, no matter where the applications are. So making sure that you're finding the correct solution to do that. Consolidating networking and security, ideally under a same solution, although there isn't anything in the market yet that can do that. Or there's very few. And ideally consuming security as a service. And this recommendation comes off the back of the fact that customers are adopting cloud services. So they are using as a service as part of their applications, teams, as part of perhaps their data center team as well. So adopting security as a service is also beneficial in that regard because it'll make sure that they keep a streamlined approach to their technology.
And it's important to remember that this model that we've kind of outlined is a goal to try to work towards. So you won't really, it's not an expectation that you would migrate everything to this format immediately. You would take it up steps, and it will take years, depending on your budget and your architectural resources that you have available. It will take a while to migrate from your traditional way of everything to, so you might begin with just migrating your mobile environment, and then your WAN environment, then your cloud, or whichever is most appropriate for your end customer.
That's correct. And so what we have found or feel best practice to SASE. Make sure we can factor in security when we're architecturing the SD-WAN capabilities of our customers to make sure we're not only addressing traffic prioritization, but also addressing DII security, for example, at all branches, for example.
The next point, considering zero trust, that goes back to kind of what we were saying in that you need to look at the context of every information. You need to look at the context of what's being accessed, who's accessing it, what their role is, what's the risk profile associated with it, rather than a source destination kind of a network's traditional model. And you want to factor that in early when you come to design your environment.
The next one is also very important. It's about from the get-go deciding whether you want to consolidate all your products into the least amount of products possible, or you want to take a best-of-breed approach. That boils down to the customer, to what the customer security strategy is.
And just following on from that is you should evaluate. Will it be better to integrate everything all at once, or will it be better to maintain some things as a not integrated solution because it just works better because it's not worth the investment in number of hours you're going to use to just migrate it. If it's a relatively small part of your end ecosystem, you have to evaluate this in a sober way.
And finally, like what we've been saying from the get-go here is approach. Don't be afraid to use a piecemeal approach or just adopt SASE in small bites, right? So define the strategy well from the beginning, and then take small steps toward that vision. That's what works best. And to be honest, these best practices are applicable for other products.
Any kind of architecture.
Any kind of architecture as well. Just last year, there was a big buzz in the industry about zero trust, which is now just a piece within SASE, right? So it's always about having the vision and applying the small steps towards the vision.
And bringing your architects in early to any discussion.
That's right. And so this is where we get to where Westcon-Comstor solutions can help you and your customers. So we're listing here the vendors that we support, or the ones that we see talking about SASE. So Cisco has their Cisco Umbrella offer alongside the SecureX integrated platform. So you can not only manage your Umbrella product from SecureX, but you can also orchestrate Umbrella with other products, not just Cisco products, security products, but other products as well. So SecureX is going to be that central management platform or integrated security platform for the future in the Cisco security architecture.
And Checkpoint will have currently their Target Connect, and in the future, a lot of you might have heard that there'll be Odo coming in, and Palo Alto have their Prisma Access technology solution as well. So And so, let me check and see if there's any questions.
in our Q&A here. Oh, yeah, there's one here. So, what is the best way to approach SASE with a multiple vendor solution?
Right. I guess it depends on the vendor and the size of the environment.
Yeah.
Are the first questions we'd ask.
Yeah, that's right. So, and also defining what are the most important aspects and pieces of the SASE architecture that you want to tackle.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, for example, perhaps prioritizing your network infrastructure first, and then choosing your vendor based on what are the core features of your networking capabilities, and then building up from the security as you go in that regard. Or perhaps factoring security first, if this is this is the most
a lot of the those security vendors that we talked about, they will have the ability to receive identity awareness information from other vendors' technologies. So if your core environment or your most important to secure environment, you tackle that first with the vendor that's most appropriate for it, it should still be able to integrate and work, backwards compatible with your other security providers in a less used part of your environment.
Yeah, that's important. Another question that we're seeing here is integration with other vendors, which falls into this the same topic. And I'm seeing a lot of that in Cisco security portfolio. All our security products now they support open APIs.
Yeah.
So they're able to integrate with not only internally but also with external feeds or external products.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm guessing this is also a similar approach for
because it wouldn't be best practice to obviously develop a solution that doesn't integrate with all the vendors will understand that a legacy environment will have multiple different pieces to it, and your solution should work well with all of it.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool. No further questions then. Well, thank you everyone for joining us in this session. Thank you, Reza, for joining us. And we'll be looking out and we'll be sending out invites for the next sessions soon. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.